MCU is back in 2024, kicking off their year with Echo. This is about Maya Lopez, who we met in Hawkeye, who must now face her past and reconnect with her Native American roots and embrace the meaning of family and community if she ever hopes to move forward past the events of Hawkeye and what she had done to Kingpin. Now, that's basically what you need to know without getting it spoiled, and thank you so much for Disney for sending on over the first 3 episodes of the series. There are 5 episodes overall, all premiering today as this review is coming out on Disney Plus and Hulu, and overall this is going to be mostly a non-spoiler review. I will talk some spoilerish details, but not like super in-depth, just certain things that you've seen in the trailer that you're probably expecting, but I definitely want to mention and kind of give a little bit of point of context to. And I have a lot to say on this show, because when this was announced, I wasn't too excited for it. I was mostly excited because there was rumors that Daredevil and Kingpin were going to show up, and obviously from the trailer, we know that they're in this show. And, you know, after watching Hawkeye, I wasn't any more excited either. I really much the Daredevil and Kingpin thing were the things getting me excited about an Echo show, which kind of sucks because I actually took a deep dive, read a couple comics of hers, and really overall love the character. And overall, I think Cox did an incredible job in Hawkeye with the role, but she just didn't get a lot of material to work with. Thankfully, what I can say with Echo is that it is in that camp that Marvel is back. And if we're getting this great of a series, I think it's really going to lead into a great year and hopefully a reconnection for the MCU for the overall general consensus. Because Echo is something a little bit different, and what it kind of gives me this nostalgic feelings of is going back, and just kind of as a point of reference, when the Netflix Marvel shows would come out, Daredevil, Punisher, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist, Luke Cage, every single time one of those would come out, this is before I had any access, before I think I was even doing reviews, I would straight up wait till midnight and binge the entire show right then and there. And it kind of became a tradition. And sometimes it was for the best, and sometimes it was for the worst. And I definitely stopped doing that after Daredevil Season 3, but it was still always a blast to do. And binging the 3 episodes of Echo that I was given kind of gave me back to those nostalgic feelings. And I don't think Echo's perfect by any means. I think there are some rocky things here and there and some issues that I definitely have with the show. And maybe the show takes a complete dip in episodes 4 and 5, and that's why they didn't show it to press. But all I can really say off the top is I really enjoyed the show, and I think as a binge, it's great. Watching this week to week, I don't know if it would have worked. And I think this is actually the smartest strategy they've done yet with one of their shows, is to give it all out at once. And it's kind of nice to have a mini-series like this where it focuses on a character, and they've very much referred and recommended that you don't have to see anything else Echo related or anything else in the MCU. You can just tune in for this. And for the most part, I agree with that. So I have a lot of thoughts, like I've mentioned. Leave your thoughts down below. Hit that like and subscribe button, and let's get into Echo overall. And starting out with my pros, first off, let's get the performances, because I think that's one of the best things about this. I think Aquila Cox is absolutely phenomenal in this. I think she's just great. I think she's doing a wonderful job in this role. I thought she was great in Hawkeye, but I think, she's actually getting the meat and potatoes here. She's easily the most developed character in this entire show, and that's what is the best for this, because it makes me go, yeah, I love this character of Echo. She's not just a badass, there's more to her, and I love seeing a lot of her past too, and I think that's one of the things that I think this show does such a great job with. As well, Vincent D'Onofrio, I'll be honest, I have not seen a lot of him in it, but for what I have seen of him in it, he's great. Charlie Cox, we'll talk a little bit more about this later on. Awesome for what he does as Daredevil, one scene. And I think that's about all we're getting, which I'm, just as a point of reference, I love that they're not just focusing in on Kingpin and Daredevil. This is an Echo-related story. This is her story, her deal, what she's dealing with. It doesn't have to focus on cameos or other related things. It straight up is only focusing in on Echo itself. And I have to give a major collab on that, because we could get worried going into this, but it really is a character study about her, and I appreciate that. Alongside the rest, Graham Greene, Tantu Cardinal, and Devry Jacobs, and so many more are all fantastic throughout this entire show. They're great for the material that they're given, but again, this is Cox's story. throughout. I think that's the one thing that I'm really enjoying, is getting to know more about Echo, getting to know more about the culture, and specifically how the Marvel can tie into this, because there's some, not supernatural aspects, but some mystical aspects that I'm very curious to see how the last 2 episodes really take into form, specifically on Echo's character, and I think it's been weaved in very greatly within this first start of each and every episode, and you'll understand what I'm saying when you actually watch the show. It's very interesting how they're putting it through, and I'm enjoying it for the most part. Also, as a side point, I think it's kind of nice to see that the overall canon to Daredevil is actually really much here, and I think the connective tissues are establishing it as a piece, not something to where you need to watch the original Daredevil series, but if you did, it's a nice little warm welcome there. I think overall the show is unique and fascinating to those levels of how it's tying into very much a street level Marvel. I mean, this is the most minuscule thing that you could possibly find into the MCU thus far yet. The mythology, the culture, the lore, and of course the number one reason a lot of you guys are probably coming to this is the action, which is great. People kind of shitting on the Daredevil and Echo fight scene that was going around on social media, and there's a lot more to it. I think overall it is great. I wouldn't say it's as great as anything in the Daredevil series, but it's up there. And it really, again, reminded me of the Netflix Marvel series. I think a lot of it is cut together like that and kind of in very much the same style and tone. I think in a weird way, it's kind of a better version of the mysticism that Iron Fist tried to explore, but put inside to this character on a street level front. Overall, have this be an introduction to the street level of the MCU, I think it's a good way in that fact. I understand we already had Hawkeye, that was a lot of that, but I feel like this is very much more honed into it overall. Talk a little bit more about that. I really do like that they're going to a more mature tone for this. A lot of the action is brutal, it is bloody, it is gory, and we got that from the trailer, and I was a little bit worried that the trailer was just like, oh, look what we're doing, we're making it mature so you'll watch it. No, there's so much more to it. It is really badass and rocking, and I, again, was like really all for it. I think each episode, the action gets a little bit better. Specifically by episode 3, there's this like roller rink that they're at. The entire sequence there is just top notch and very much edge of your seat. And again, very believable for what we have here. Now, this is kind of where I want to start diving into my mixed aspects and my issues with the entire show, because Echo is not perfect. I think there are quite a few things that are kind of holding it back from being perfect. And I think these are things that Marvel is trying to adjust on the back end to fix for the future of the MCU within its TV department as well as its movies. And really much the reason I'm saying these are mixed and cons is because the last 2 episodes could make these things better, could make them worse. I don't know, but flat out 5-6 episodes, no. I genuinely think this should have been an 8-episode series. And I don't know if Marvel's worried about the runtime, the pacing, the editing, or any of that stuff, but it really feels that there's a big issue in between this, and the length of what the season has been given, and again, there's 2 episodes left, but specifically where the last episode ended, I feel like I'm missing time and connection and context with a lot of the other characters that it's introducing. And I feel like these human relationships, these human stories that it wants me to care about, I can't fully wrap myself around to because I'm not fully connected to every character besides Maya. And that's my biggest thing, is that, yeah, like, I would love to know all these times, and don't get me wrong, a lot of the times when we watched the old Netflix Marvel series, sometimes it was boring to follow those characters. But at the same time, I did at least get to know those characters. I got to be developed with them, and I think in the long run, it did pay off. And I had that same feeling, again, staying up, binging all those other Defenders shows, but that comes with the good and the bad, and it's missing a lot of character development in here besides Maya. And I understand it's a character study for her, but that doesn't mean that you forget about everyone else. When shit hits the fan, you need to care. And I just genuinely didn't really care about anyone else besides Echo and just what she was trying to do. I think that's where, if this wasn't bingeable, I don't know if I would have stuck around watching it week to week. And I think that's where some people might have that issue. And if they're not hooked from the start, I don't know if they're going to be hooked to continue and finish off the series. Or I don't even know if Echo will continue to be a talking point after a couple of weeks after the episode's release. I think if you gave me more characters to connect with, I actually might have found something a little bit more meaningful there. That's one of my biggest issues, one of my cons. I think some people might relate to that, some people might not care. My only other issue that I've had so far with the series is this. The first episode, very much in the first 30 minutes, is a lot of recap. Which, that's fine. I know they're marketing this that anyone in the world could watch this and be able to follow along, and that's true for the most part. But what about people who are up to date? This is where it's going to be different for every person, but I don't need to see the Ronin stuff from Hawkeye again. I don't need to see scenes from Hawkeye or even Daredevil again. Like, I don't. It's very exposition heavy in terms of visuals and also talkie that hurt the pacing and the editing for the first 30 minutes of the first episode. And I was not feeling this. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a couple flashbacks in there that are very intriguing. There's an awesome action sequence that I thought was phenomenal. And again, that's one of the reasons that the first episode kept me engaged. But everything in between those moments were very rough, until it actually dove into where is Echo after the events of Hawkeye. That's when I got into it. And I actually wish they would have written the show a little bit differently. If they wanted to show those details, flash it throughout the first episode, not in the first 30 minutes, because that's where you're going to lose someone like me. And I think that's where the show could have been heavily stronger. But thankfully, episodes 2, episodes 3, they're tight, they're niched, they're not, and the only issue I have with them is just I wanted more character development with everyone on board. So overall, Echo is great, and I truly enjoy the show, and I can't wait to finish the final 2 episodes of this. It's not a perfect show still, and I think there are quite a few issues, as I've mentioned, but I think maybe the last 2 episodes could fix them, or maybe they don't at all, and maybe this is just something the MCU needs to focus on in the future. But what I can say is, as a bingeable MCU series to develop a character that's very much out of the spotlight, but Marvel being able to put a spotlight on, not trying to make a pun since this is something called Marvel Spotlight instead, I think that's a kind of a unique thing, and I think Echo is one of the better taste and one of the better series from the MCU overall, and I think it's one of those that if you like the trailer, you're going to enjoy this. If you're one of those people that like the Netflix Daredevil Marvel series, you're probably going to like this too. It's not as top tier to that, but it is an enjoyable thing, and it made me like this character more, and I can't wait to see more of her in the future. So with all that said, I'm going to give Echo episodes 1 through 3 a B. Thank you so much again, guys, for watching this. Make sure to leave your thoughts down below. Hit that like and subscribe button. And, of course, until next time, stay classy.